Hey guys, Drew up here, and we are back with our 2D Java platforming tutorial series. And this game looks very bland. I mean, it's got black and white and a green blob. Maybe we should make it look better, you know? There we go. That's looking a lot better. Now, I got a little bored today, so I decided we'll make our map look better. So I went ahead and did some artwork for the map. And now we have a nice little map that looks better. And I'll tell you guys how I did this. I also made some changes to the camera. As you can see, our camera no longer goes out of bounds. And I got rid of some of the platforms up here. So yeah, what I did is I went into our map. And I edited it a little bit. I didn't want anything up above. I wanted it to be open up above. And then I took this and I made it 16 times bigger. And then just manually drew in a map. So this is just, the map is just an image. I basically made the tiles, placed them, and then I went around and roughened them up. And the beauty with this is you can add in non-tile set image-like features. So I wrote my name in here, and I did all these carvings by hand. So we could make a map like this using a tile set and then rendering that. But for right now, the way we have it currently set up, this is the easiest way to do it. So yeah, I'm going to have this in the link down below on the Imgur so you guys can download it along with this. And my background was this. I was looking at making a cloud, but I fucked up making the cloud. So the background blue image will also be there. So yeah, the plan was to originally have like mountains and stuff in the background, but I don't know why. For some reason, I just couldn't make it look as well as I wanted to, and I didn't want to put in the parallax mapping just yet, because I figured that could be a video all on its own. So yeah, all I had to do to implement this was simply load in the two images I made, come down to our renderer, draw those two images at 0, and I just commented out the squares. So if I put these back in, it'll draw those squares back, but we don't want the squares. I want my images. And it's as simple as that to get our level loaded over top of our collision, right? And we still have our collision because that collision data has nothing to do with what's visibly on screen. It all has to do with what's in the collision array. So I mean, I made this little point here where it's yeah, it doesn't look the best because of how our collision is because it's square. But later on, I'm going to be talking about other kinds of collisions in separate videos about how we can do pixel collision instead of doing just tile-based collision, where we can make a map like this where you collide with each pixel individually. It's not as hard as you think it would be. So yeah, but today we're gonna finish this up because we still got a green player, which looks a little dumb, right? And I also took the time in to draw a little player character and gave him a little running animation. Now I don't know how this animation is going to look in game, where it's gonna go here, 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 here to the right, and it's gonna go to the left same way. I don't know what this will look like when it's animated. I just kind of winged it, so we'll see what it looks like. So I've already exported this. And if I refresh my project, it's in here as player. So let's add this in instead of having our weird player, our square player. So if I come down here, actually we're going to need to load in our image first. So in our player, let's make a private image tile player equals new image. I don't want to call this player. Actually, I want to call this player image. And this will load in our /player.png. And, excuse me. And it's 16 by 16 are our tiles. And we'll import that in. So there we go. So now when we run, it should load it. We didn't get any errors. We're fine. So we'll come down here. And we're going to comment out our draw fill rect. Now, I'm going to do a simple draw image tile. I'm going to draw our player image. And our offset X, offset Y will be position X and position Y, but we need to make those integers. Same as we did before. And tile X and tile Y are going to be 0 and 0 for right now. We're not going to animate it just yet. I just want to see him in game. And there's our little guy in game. He doesn't have any animations, but instead of having a square, a green square, we now have an actual player who moves around. Right? So let's actually add in a little bit of animation to him. I'm going to come back up here and we're going to add in a private, let's put it right here, private int direction, which will be the direction he's facing, either left or right. And we'll also need a private float animation equal to 0. So there we go. So if we press D, which is right, I'm going to say direction equals 0, regardless of what happens. If you press D, it'll do that. And if you press A, direction will equal 1. Okay? So now if I come down to our renderer, instead of our tile Y, instead of 0, I put direction. That should flip and flop our direction. So now now it switches between the two images for the two directions. Right? Now let's animate it. Alright? So we're moving, right? And we're going to do simply animation plus equals dt times 5. 5 is just a number. I think it'll be a good animation speed. Maybe we'll need to speed it up a little bit, maybe slow it down. We'll see what we need. So we have animation of 5, and simply put, we don't want to stop. If we don't go anywhere, we don't want to animate, right? So like if we are moving and we're on the 3rd frame and we stop moving, I want to go back to the 1st frame, right? So I think instead of throwing these in here, I'm going to actually make these into separate if statements, just because I think it should be separate. So if I come down here all the way past their shooting, just to make it simple, get input that is key, and I'm going to put key event.vk underscore d. That is not the proper key. Right? I'm going to say direction equals 0, else if gc.get input that is key event.vk underscore a, direction equals 1, and then else. Okay, so our animation will equal 0, but we have our direction, we have our x. So if we're moving, right, if we're walking into the wall, I'll still animate just for right now. So not if, animation plus equals dt times 5. We'll do the same thing over here. And simply put if animation is greater than 4, animation equals 0. And that should go like that for both. So now if I run it, oh yeah, we got to put animation in. So if we come down here to our 0, I'm going to put animation, but I'm going to cast this to an integer. So this should go through our frames, and then when it hits 4, it'll loop back around. Should do greater than or equal to, because I don't actually want it to equal 4. Look at him run. That looks interesting. Oh no. Yeah, we're getting all the frames. Let's speed him up a little bit. He's running a bit slow. 10. There we go. Now isn't that an interesting run? Now the camera following is a little jittery. I don't know if you can see that. He looks like he's got a limp when he's running. But hang on, let's I'm gonna change the camera just because the camera is acting a little bit weird. I'm gonna make the camera follow him better. 20 times speed. No, it still doesn't. Target it. What if we make this integers? I wonder if that'll get rid of that little jitter. By the way I prevent the camera from going off screen is this line of code right here. This prevents the camera from going off of our level. So just take a look at that. Simply put, if our offset x goes less than 0, it just sets our offset x to 0. If our offset y is less than 0, it sets offset y to 0. And then here, to get the level width and height, basically if our offset x plus the width of our screen is greater than the level width times the tile size, then set the offset x equal to exactly that. Not to that, but to the width, the level width times tile size minus the width of the screen. And do the same thing, but the opposite for the y. It's pretty straightforward code. So let's see, does that get rid of the jitter? The little jitter he gets going as the camera tries to keep up is a little annoying. But hey, he looks like he's running. That ain't that bad. Huh. For right now, I don't know if I really like the jitteriness of it. Offset it. Because I'm not getting a good feel of the animation because of them jittering around a little bit. And the camera doesn't follow perfectly. So it looks a little weird. But there you go. With it perfectly following, it looks a lot better. So I think I'm going to leave it with it just perfectly following it and not slowly following it. Just because it looks a bit better. But look at him go. He's animating just a little bit too fast. Let's change that in the player. Maybe 7? Animate at speed of 7. Bit slow. 8. It's all about feel here. How does it feel? That works. But I kind of don't want him to just... we're going to reuse some animations here. Let's close those down. So when he's in the air, I want him to use this image. And I guess when he's falling as well, we'll have him use this image. So so we have our animation here, and we have our direction. So else animation equals 1. So if we're not moving, do that. But if our fall distance does not equal 0, then I want to set animation equal to 1. So that should set our animation to the first frame. So now when I jump, he goes into that animation because his fall distance is not 1. So when he jumps off of something, he does that pose when he's falling. And once again, I'll put an else here for animation to equal 0. So, because I think he's not transferring over fast enough when he falls off something. Now he doesn't animate at all because of that. Yeah, we'll just set him to that. That's animation equals 1. So we have that, but he still animates. But it only happens when fall distance is equal to 0. I'm going to set this as an integer, just in case fall distance is slightly less or more than 1 than 0. It should make it switch quicker. Boop, boop. There we go. And then we can have him also animate for when he hits the ground. And once again, I'm going to reuse one of these animates. I'm going to use the 0 for second frame here for when he hits the ground. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to do it, you only want it to execute once when he hits the ground, not when he's permanently stuck to the ground. So if you remember when we did inputs, we had the key and then we had key last, and we used that to determine whether a key up or key down. We're going to do the same thing for ground. So I'm going to say private boolean ground last equals false. But we'll come down here and I'm going to say ground last equals ground. Alright, and I'm going to have that at the very bottom. But if ground and not ground last, aka is this the first time we hit the ground, then animation is equal to 2. Right? So now he should go. You see him? You see that change real quick? It looks like also, for some reason he animates. Oh, because when he hits the peak of his fall, he's no longer fall distance 0. How about actually instead of doing that, we could put ground here. If he's not on the ground, then have him do that first frame of animation. There we go. That seems to work better than the fall distance. That little quick head nudge, because he does it for literally 1 frame. It's, I mean, we might delay it. We could delay it. It doesn't look good the way it is right now. I don't know. I might do. The run animation is a bit weird. I feel like he looks like he's running with a limp, but I am no artist. He still shoots out of his mouth now, and out of every orifice. He looks like he's just bleeding everywhere. Which we'll change this gun here in a little bit. But he's starting to look like a character. This generic little 2D platformer dude. He's starting to look pretty good. Right? And you can keep adding animations and stuff. So like we had the direction for changing where he's looking. You could like rename that and say like animation state. And then like have multiple animations. So like if we were to have like, oh, he's crouching, you'd add another one down. You'd go down another, and then you'd put it in animation for that. Usually I go for 4 frames of animation because that usually looks good. So if something is 2 frames long, you just repeat the 2. Or if something's 1 frame, you just have 1 frame going across it. There's a lot of ways to do this. You just got to get creative with it. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Because this one's getting a little bit long, and the next video, we're going to have him touch the wall. Because he doesn't touch the wall. Because our player is now smaller than a giant green square, we can have the player get closer to the wall, right? There's no reason we can't let him touch the wall. And he's also shorter. See, like, this looks really weird now because he's not a big green square that he's just floating here. So we're gonna fix that, and also he's got a little bit of height to him. We're gonna let him jump. He's not actually jumping here; he's animating, but we're gonna actually let him jump up when there's a frame block above him, though. Okay, so that'll be the next video. So guys, comment, rate, subscribe, and thanks for watching.